Okay, folks, I thought we'd start in ChatGPT. This is probably the most single well-known platform where you can enter prompts and get answers from artificial intelligence. It's probably the one that most people within this community would have heard of. So, chatgpt.com, I've deliberately not signed into my account. I'm on a paid account, which is $20 per month. There is also a $200 per month plan. I think that's really heavy usage. I don't necessarily think that you should be going with that, at least right now, if you're in the early stages. I use AI a lot, so just to put it into context, I am on the $20 per month paid plan, and that's only because I get an enhanced level of prompting and responses from the paid plan. Then you will get under the free. But this is completely free if you want to use it like this, and I suggest that if you're fairly new or you're already playing around with it, stick with that until you get to a point where you feel that you need more from it. $20 a month, not a huge investment, but with all of the tools that we're going to be going through, I'm going to be aiming to cover the majority of probably what you've heard, and then there's probably some that you may not have heard of. I'm going to put them all in this section so that they're an easy reference. And every time there are updates, particularly to the more significant platforms, I will do new videos and just guide you on what those changes are, what you can expect, how we can leverage it for specific use cases for quantity surveying, artificial intelligence. So really within this section, I'm going to be covering the software and the tools. There will be other sections where I'm going to be looking at more specific case studies where we can take day-to-day stuff and then super specific stuff that QSs or other specialist derivatives of QSs like dispute and those type of activities, people who want to get into analyzing programs, loss and expense, really deeper dives into the more complex components of quantity surveying. We're going to do those in specific use cases. And what I would like is that as members of the community, if you want to see something specific, then all you need to do is contact me and say, "Hey Ed, I need some help with, what do you think about this? How should we do this? What would be the best way to achieve this as a QS?" So that's really what I want from the community, is to build it. I want to build it for you, but I'm also sharing my specific use cases that I am using it for. I've been using it for a number of years. I think guiding you into this community, I mentioned that I've been using it for at least 2 years. In all honesty, it's longer than that in earlier derivative forms. I just used 2 years because that's kind of the evolution when people started to see what was happening in the AI world in terms of LLM construction and general artificial intelligence. My involvement in it goes a long way before that, when I was studying like data science algorithms and all that kind of thing in US universities, and had some involvement in early stage LLM production and data and all of that good stuff. So I have specifically a lot of experience in this space, but it's really translating that now into usable use cases that you guys can use in your everyday business. It's not my intention to do deep dive into highly theoretical components. That's really not going to serve you any benefit whatsoever as users. What I want to do is cover, at least in the early stages of this community, the very, very basic principles, and then we're going to start going into deep dive. I plan on sharing content regularly, although, I am a practicing quantity surveyor still, so I'm not going to have like hours and hours and hours per week to develop this, but I will be developing it regularly. And rest assured that when you're a member of this community, there will be regular stuff. It will not be one of those communities that just dries up and has largely insignificant content. I'll try and make it as active as I can and as interesting as I can. But the point that I made a little while ago, please, as community members, it needs to also be driven by you. What do you need? What questions do you have? All of that stuff. Use the community to throw it out there. We're all learning. We're all growing together. There's going to be different people that are at different stages of the journey. Some of them may be having lots of experience like me. Some of them may be having lots of experience and develop better, models and case scenarios than I have. Let's all share it. We're all here to grow together. There's no Pacific guru. I'm not a guru in it. I'm not here to flex my muscles and say that, I'm the best guy for quantity surveying AI. I set this community so that we can all learn and grow together, and that's the way that I'm thinking about it. So, how would this work? For those that don't know, getting more back into GPT, this is a principle that it's not just ChatGPT. If you're using others that we're going to dive into, like the models of Gemini, which is produced by Google, we have Claude, which is Anthropic, and many, many others. DeepSeek now has just recently joined the AI sort of tool SaaS products for free with DeepSeek, and it's now on a reasoning model R1 as well. That's completely free, by the way. We're going to do and get into that component as well. So with ChatGPT, if you are on the free plan, then you will not get as much ability to control or do specific things with ChatGPT. It's free. You can leverage it to learn. You can get some good stuff out of it. But if you really want to go deeper, and I'm going to get more specific case studies around that, it may be worth updating the paid plan. But before you spend any money, please watch all the videos that I'm going to upload on, like the Claude, the Gemini, Notebook LM, all these things. A lot of them are free, and for the interim, until you get some deeper understanding of how to leverage AI, it's going to be fine. Don't spend your money until you absolutely need to. But if you're in business and you see an immediate need, $20, not a big deal. Anyway, let's get into it. So this window here that says message ChatGPT, this is where we enter what we call a prompt. A prompt is what's going to be received by the artificial intelligence, in this case the model of ChatGPT, and it's going to take that information and then work out what the answer is. Now, word of caution in anything across AI, the more that you can give, the more detail in a prompt, the better response you're going to get. Artificial intelligence is just that. It's developing at an enormous rate, and we'll get into that in another video. But don't expect necessarily the answer to be the perfect answer. In most cases, it's not. What I specifically use it for is when I'm prompting, what I'm using it for is to see the logic, to see the response, and then I build on it from there. I do not accept it as particularly in the first question or the first prompt that I give it, I do not expect that the output is going to be perfect. But what it does is it does a lot of the heavy lifting for me. It does a lot of the thinking. And with prompts, you can really guide it as to how you want it to think as well. You can give it specific scenarios, how you want to think, how deep you want the artificial intelligence to think. And then if you don't get the answer that you want from it, you can then re-question and keep re-questioning, and like more of a critical thinking, deeper analysis by keep asking questions to it and making the actual output deeper and deeper and deeper until you get what you want, or get it to a situation where you then kind of export it and you work with it more manually to get where you need to be. Now, one of the great things that ChatGPT can do, and this is really, really useful for us as QSs, is it's really good at analyzing data. So, having said that, you need to present the data in easy, bite-sized pieces of information. You can upload spreadsheets actually into ChatGPT, but the old adage, garbage in, garbage out, you really have to be super specific about what that data is. You need to make it clean, need to make it understandable, and your prompts need to ensure that there's no resistance in that model giving you the answer that you want. So let's start off with some very, very basic, and if you've been doing deeper dives into this, then this might not be beneficial for you. But if you're new to it and don't have much understanding about what AI can do, then maybe we can just interrogate very, very simply. So, for example, I might ask it, can you please list all of the main JCT contract forms used in the United Kingdom construction industry. Just bear with me. Okay, so that's now going to think. Okay, so this is giving you an outline and see how quick it is. It's just almost instantaneously. Now, for those who are specifically working in the UK, I don't. I'm based in the United Arab Emirates, and to be fair, the last time I worked in the UK was a long time ago, but double check, have a quick sort of synopsis of this. This might not be the real detailed into like all of it. It's going to give you high level. But what you can start to do now is you can start to query it. So if I said, for example, okay, if I am working in the UAE, is this a contract I can use, or is there something more applicable? Now, again, this is very basic, so please bear with me. I'm just trying to highlight what AI can do for you and the intelligence base that it has. Okay, so it's going to be thinking about it. So, quite correctly, JCT is not typically used in the UAE. They are more common in the UK, which is correct. And it's highlighted number one that FIDIC contracts are more commonly used, which is 100% correct. It then goes into a bit more detail, which is the UAE Civil Code. Again, that is correct. If you're working in DIFC, there are Pacific contracts, which is correct. Local contract, correct, particularly with government organizations. NEC contracts, it's not incorrect, but it's not commonly used at all, but I have seen cases where it is prompted and promoted rather by some of the international law firms, particularly that work out of Dubai and service, particularly I would say Western contractors who operate and are looking for a more aligned contract than some of the terms that are currently used here. So again, you can see where I'm going with this. This is not aiming to go a deeper dive, but again, coming back to these JCT forms, I could then go deeper and say, okay, that's great. What about if I work in Australia? What is the best contract? Now, this is a leading question because how do you, it's very subjective what you define the best, but just bear with me. Okay, so now it goes talking again about something very different, which the Australian, like in New Zealand, they have Pacific standards that are more applicable for that area. Now, if you're in Australia, then you can maybe link a comment and tell me whether you agree or disagree. For me, that kind of looks as if it's responding reasonably well. Okay, thank you. What about if I secure a job in New Zealand? Now, I am familiar with New Zealand market. I have a lot of contracts there. Was very active there for around 12 years, particularly in the earthquake space when the unfortunate event of the Christchurch earthquakes occurred quite some time ago. The first one, 2010. So this is a market I'm very familiar with. If I secure a job in New Zealand, what contracts are there? Okay, so you'll see these questions are very broad. It's always better. So this is actually spot on again. Yeah. So I'm highlighting here very broad prompts, okay, to get broad answers. This is where you just want to test about something that you maybe are not particularly aware of. We'll utilize other case studies where we get into deeper, like we can really interrogate contracts. specific contracts, and we can upload contracts and ask them to document like risks, ask them to challenge particular conditions or changes to the contract, even in relation to case law. And we can go super specific actually. But I just want to give you some idea of like what these models can do. And ChatGPT, remember, this is not the paid plan, this is the free plan. So what we're getting here is kind of like a watered down version of a deeper if we went into a paid plan. And I will show you examples of the paid plan in other videos where I do more specific use cases, because I'm going to have to leverage and use certain models that I know will give us the answers that we need, particularly when we start looking at how we construct like Python coding to achieve specific results in data science and responses that can be used for quantity surveying. But hopefully this just gives you a first stab. I don't want to make this video too long, because everyone's time I appreciate is you're not going to want to spend hours watching something like this, or to listen to me. I'm going to try and make these, like, break them down into bite-sized chunks. But hopefully this first one will give you an idea of just what it can do, an overview, more particularly for those that this is their first kind of dive into AI and what AI can do for us. So stay with me. This is the first one. If this doesn't interest you because you feel that you're more advanced, that's great. There'll be more advanced stuff to come. But one step at a time, we need to build this community sort of piecemeal. And in order to do that, I need to start with the basics. I need to assume that there are a level of people or a number of people in this community that this is all new to them. So I'm trying to sort of, build it as we would step through and not get into all the complicated components straight away. I need to set the context. So as I mentioned in this video, if you have any specific requests, please drop them in the comments. If you have any comments about this video, any things that you agree, disagree with, anything that you'd like to see, anything like that, then just drop them in the comments. I'm going to be reviewing. I'll get notifications when the comments come in. I'll respond to them and I'll take them on board. If we can work with what you specifically want to see, that's great. That's what I want for the community. So with that being said, I will sign off now, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.